I'm Callie Seckler.
And I'm Tara Merrick.
This is Worth the Watch. Today's movie is The School for Good and Evil.
We'll be rating the plot, characters, sound, visuals, and originality of the film. Each category earns a popcorn bucket.
Or not. First is plot. I was quite bored with the plot of this movie. I felt as if it had one idea that was pushing along the entire thing, and that was that they were dropped in the wrong schools. The characters thought they weren't where they're supposed to be. They mentioned this in every single scene. Every single time they talked to any other characters, it was brought up the fact that they think that they are in the wrong schools. The plot of the movie doesn't need to be mentioned in every scene of the movie for it to be the plot of the movie. So it was fine as an idea to move the story along, but the amount of times it was mentioned was just stop talking about the same thing, find new motivations for the characters, find new things to drive the plot forward instead of just falling back to the old boring things that we understood within the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah, and it's just an effect of the fact that they lost so much depth when they translated it from the book to the movie. The book had so much, it was so, like, the world was so rich, the characters had so much depth, and then in the movie they flattened it out because the book is so long and so rich, they had to simple it down.
It was still a 2.5 hour long movie. Like, it was still a long movie that I don't think that they used the time for. If you want to make a long movie, I'll watch a long movie. There are people that will watch long movies, but you need to have something different. It can't be 2 hours of the same thing till you finally get to the plot twist. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking for a well-told story with written characters to move the plot forward.
Yeah, and one of the main things that I was really annoyed by in terms of the adaptation factor is that they completely ruined the theme that was shown throughout the entire book of these two characters being stuck in a narrative. And it's all about being trapped in this narrative. They're trapped in this fairy tale. They're trapped as the characters, the good and the evil, all throughout this novel. That's
which
all
they
it's about.
lightly explain in the movie, so much so that I barely understood that that was part of the plot until they said that halfway through the movie, where they kind of explained it a little bit more, but you were not feeling any of the same thing that they were trying to portray.
Yeah, so then the plot in the movie just the theme in the movie sort of fell flat, and it just ended up being, finding love in a prison, sort of, or just something along those lines. It was very all wishy-washy, and I didn't like it.
That's why we're not giving it the bucket for plot.
And then next up is characters, which, as I said before, they were so shallow. They ruined so much of the depth that they had in the books, where Sophie befriended Agatha not because she wanted to be friends with this girl, it was because she wanted good points. She wanted to be seen as good, so she befriended the evil witch of the town.
Yeah, that comes from them, like Netflix trying to make a movie where it's telling the story of a good person, but they're not actually good. There are other ways to portray having evil inside of you than having it be, she's good now, realizes something, and then goes to bad. That's how the movie was, but that's not how well-written characters are in the book. You understand that there is a complex aspect to them.
She had an undercurrent of evil even if she was trying to seem good throughout the entire thing. And then with Agatha, she was just, in this movie, she was just, I'm good. I'm actually, people think I'm evil, but I'm actually good. In the books, she looked evil, first off. She was like greasy and like disgusting and stereotypically evil. But then also, she had these core morals that she stuck to, and that's what made her good, because she had good morals, she did not stray from them ever, and she stuck to them throughout the entire thing, where in the movie, her morals were such a small part of her character. They were only significant when she was talking to her love interest, Tedros, when she was like denying him and they had a come and get me sort of relationship.
Adding more to characters, not the two main characters, this cast was great in my opinion. I looked up the movie, saw Kit Young was in it, and got so excited. He is in less than 5 minutes of the movie. He is in the first scene and a little bit at the end. I felt it was underused. I understand that that's how you're trying to tell the story, but It just didn't work for me. Some of the other people in the movie, like Cate Blanchett, I was very excited for her to be in this movie. Very sad that she was just a storyteller, the narrator of the movie, but I also felt the narrator kind of fell flat.
That is also, again, an effect of them losing the theme. The historian was supposed to be this thing trapping them, one of the factors trapping them, but instead was just sort of there. It just sort of hung out.
Also, this might be a more specific thing to me, and this is like character and plot related, but I hate when a movie starts with a scene and then the entirety of the rest of the plot is based on something that we don't see after that scene. This happens at the beginning, you think one of them fell off the cliff, and then at the very end it's revealed that he jumped back up and killed his brother. That is just a lazy way to tell a story, having something left out in the beginning of the movie just to reveal it later. It kind of ruined the plot twist for me. I felt as if they were gonna do that, they should have added more throughout the movie about him being alive so that when you actually understood that the character played by Lawrence Fishburne was actually the evil twin and not the good twin, it felt like it wasn't built up at all. You didn't remotely care and almost didn't understand what they were trying to do because of how lightly they felt on that. And then to rely on that to be your entire plot twist for the movie, it was just not, it didn't work.
That's a recent trend in a lot of movies that they fell prey to, and you're not giving the viewers a chance to puzzle this out. The viewer isn't really getting to think. It's just something that they reveal happened that the viewer never would have known. And so that's plot. But for characters, we're not going to give it the bucket because they just, again, had no depth.
Kit Young is beautiful and he should have been in the movie more.
Exactly. So third is sound, and the sound was, it was interesting.
Questionable.
They made some interesting choices in terms of which songs. Why was there Billie Eilish? Why was there Toxic? That did not contribute to the vibes.
No, but there was Billie Eilish, but it wasn't her singing. They used the sound, the background of it for Sophie's big, evil arc, time when she walks in the room, and it ended up making it so awkward and uncomfortable. Something that's supposed to be like, wow, she just did a whole makeover and now she's evil. Like, wow, look at what's happening. But it ended up just being kind of quite ridiculous in my opinion. It didn't land at all.
If you're gonna use a popular song, you're probably using it for the lyrics. They didn't include the lyrics, so you're just sat there waiting for the lyrics to kick in, and they never do. And then it's also, you're using a song because people all know it and they're excited to sing along and see this cool, powerful moment. And then you never got to sing along and it was just sort of sitting there. And then also, why are they using, I don't want to say synth, but more like electronic, not like the sort of music that you would expect from a fairy tale setting.
No, exactly. They picked the Billie Eilish song that had the word crown in it.
Yeah, so a lot of the music choices were not good, so we're not giving it the bucket. And the next is visuals, which we really loved. The costuming was gorgeous. It was incredible.
Absolutely.
I loved Sophie's how she started with just rags, and then when she got more powerful, she sort of fell into her own with her clothes and made her own clothes, which tied into before when she was shown to be making her own clothes.
Like a Cinderella type story.
Yes.
You want to be a princess, you want to build off of that, and then completely switch.
You become your own. You make yourself the princess. So we really love the costuming, and the set design was incredible. The rooms in the School for Good were just, they were gilded, and they had flowers, and they had all the mirrors, and just lots of symbols of good, and it was a very nice place to be.
Even the outside of the castle, obviously castles are used quite frequently in movies, especially princess and prince movies, but it was just beautiful the way that they had everything set up, and those little details that you think would be annoying to have that yin, yang, good, evil the whole time, but you can tell how much time they took into designing each individual thing to not just make it, oh, one school's bright and pretty, one school's dark, but to have those actual details that portray good and evil throughout the movie.
Mm-hmm. And then the way that even just the architecture, the way that the School for Good was very rounded. It had round windows, it had round tops, where the School for Evil was sharp.
Broken things,
yes,
sharp edges.
It was sharp, it was uncomfortable, and of course dark and light, that was also a thing. And then their lighting was also a lot colder tone. It was a lot more dramatic as opposed to School for Good, where it was warmer and it was coming from everywhere around them. So we were very impressed with the visuals and we're giving it the bucket. finally is originality.
As somebody who doesn't like fairy tale stories, I quite honestly get annoyed when they try to add a more modern twist onto an old story. I'm just bored by it and think that I could be watching so many other things. I did, though, enjoy the true love's kiss trope being used for evil in this movie. Sophie thinks throughout like the second half of the movie more that if she has a true love's kiss, it will send her to the good school where she thinks she belongs. It will, set it right where it's supposed to be. But instead it's kind of used, and more of a plot twist at the end, when we find out that the brother is actually the evil brother the whole time, and he convinces her to have true love's kiss with him, and it kind of solidifies that evil ruling that Sophie is evil, he's evil, true love's kiss between them, gives him all of the power that they can have through the world. I really enjoyed that they made it that way.
The originality was pretty good. There were a couple things that weren't, so we're giving it the bucket.
Overall.
Which means that overall it has earned itself 2 out of 5 buckets, making it
Not worth the watch.